I think politically it is very difficult for politicians to support a space program when so much of their constituents will frown on that. But I mean,
it's a real shame what's happening to politics. We don't have any more real leaders in government anymore. But don't you feel like it's, you look through the history channels and you hear all these amazing speeches that, JFK and, even Obama days were essentially like inspiring a whole nation of people and putting them behind a single mission to sort of strive for the positive good of humanity. What do you get now? You get like,
nothing.
Oh yeah, well, it's like, it's good.
Yeah.
We're missing leadership in leaders. And we've lost our ways because of the way that sort of either as a society we've, either looked into these, whether it's the algorithms or whether we're essentially
Facebook
just driven
algorithms.
by our innate needs to satisfy our own sort of purposes. If you look at what's happening in the States, for example, the inequality is making people really look down and, just trying to get pay their next paycheck. And they can care about their immediate needs. So talk about the hierarchy of needs. If you don't fill out the basic needs, they're not going to get there and put their heads up and think about the future because they need to care for themselves right now.
I didn't know that the US was that close to I didn't know how much of a house of cards it was. Like,
a significant portion is almost like third world. Like, poverty.
Yeah, I could not believe
The homeless
it.
levels are crazy. They're the only country, a developed nation, where the average living age has actually gone backwards, has gone down because of suicide rates and poverty.
Wow.
I was there with my wife. We were attending a wedding over there in Seattle, and we had a pram, and we were going onto a public bus, and I had trouble getting the pram in the bus. I probably took 30 to 40 seconds to get it in the door. I could feel my societal eyes, thinking what other people were thinking. I was ready for someone to say, "Come on, mate, hurry up," because that's what would have happened in Sydney.
Yes.
But when I looked up, no one said anything. Everyone was smiling. I'm like, that is strange.
Wow.
And we were walking across the street, and a car was coming, and the car stopped 20 meters, or at least 10, 15 meters from the stop sign, and they just said, go. I'm thinking, these people
that
are so
does not
polite.
happen in Sydney.
And I asked my friend who was living there now, what? This is an amazing place. Seattle's an amazing place. People are so friendly. No, they just don't want you to sue them.
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah. That's probably it.
I'm like, what is going on here?
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
It makes sense.
A good,
but,
what do you call it? A successful law society, isn't it? It's sort of a vibrant legal attorney society.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was there last year for South by Southwest in Austin.
Oh, SSW.
Wow. Literally, you turn the wrong corner, and then it's like completely different.
Wow.
Right? It's just like it's very stark in the haves and have-nots, and it's literally just, especially if you go to like San Francisco, you turn the corner, like places like Tenderloin, and it's like completely stark and desolate.
Wow.
And it's just that divide that's causing a lot of the division in the States around politics and people really not giving a shit about technology or
I think it's
all
just,
this vision that people have.
You said about basic needs. That implies some sort of socialist structure. And there's just a huge body of them that believe that any sort of socialist structure is the enemy, is from communism. The irony of that is they've got the US military, which is the biggest socialist structure ever, and they're going to say it's not
That's
socialist,
true.
but it
How
is.
they actually feed their army and all that. That's right.
Yeah, I mean,
the chain of command too. But if you think about like the sort of the socialist communist sort of narrative that we juxtapose it with capitalism, that's been going around since the Cold War.
That's
right?
the best hybrid.
That's why you can understand that generation of people literally just completely switching off when they hear socialism,
communism, and it comes from the word community.
It's already happening. It's like the welfare state, right?
Yeah.
All of those sort of socialist policies, whether it's creating healthcare in Australia whether it's giving you, job seeker and job keeper. That's pretty socialist, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just that when they talk about communism and the Communist Manifesto and the socialist dream of utopia, it can't be implemented with the technology that they have at the time. Because eventually, if you go to the state, it's going to be controlled by people, and people will inherently be corrupt. That's why it just can't be implemented at the time.
Can I say, I had a theory on this, because, when you've got two societies that are at odds, you have to have some sort of political impetus to get one side to hate the other side.
Correct.
I mean, even with the IRA and England, you've got they've got different religions. That's it. The other religion's bad.
Yeah.
When you've got race,
you need an excuse.
Yeah. When you've got race, it's easy. Oh, they're a different race. You can see it. With Russia, they look the same. They're Caucasian, right? They look Caucasian. There's almost, you couldn't tell. And so it's like, what is the difference? Well, they've got this communist system there. Communism, but that's community. It's how are we going to flip that around? Well, look, we'll find a way. We'll flip it.
It was very poorly implemented as well, communism, like in the Soviet Union.
Oh, yeah, it was good for a day. It was good for one day, and then it turned...
What's happening now, that's why a lot of the sort of technologists now are talking about fully automated luxury communism.
Oh, look out. I like the sound of that.
It's like,
you have to look that one up.
Whether it's a false promise or not, what it entails is that robots do all the work. So it's a new slave class.
You socialist, automatic socialist.
Will do everything.
Wow,
and the means of production is owned by everyone in society. So you get the dividends of the labor of the
this is
robots.
I thought that would be a fantastic way to bring in automation. Like, let's say for cleaners, for example, cleaners are going to be displaced by cleaning robots. Well, how about you, just like we've got with poker machines, we have a government license to own them. Just like with taxis, you have to have a taxi license in order to operate. Well, you could give out to the cleaners an exclusive set of licenses to run these robots. And so they can oversee the robots. They'll get all the contracts that those people have existing, and they'll just get grandfathered in. And that way you've got, you're able to grandfather that generation, and that generation won't suffer the complete displacement. I don't know.
That's true. Yeah.
I mentioned that to someone, and they said it was terrible.
The entire society. Otherwise, people will think it's unfair. Like, for example, the best working one that's right now, the sort of dividend type model, is actually working in Alaska. This is what Andrew Yang. This is like the Alaskan Petroleum Fund.
And so they get money every month.
There's about $2,000 US per year that goes out to every resident in Alaska.
Is it every year or every month?
Every year.
Every year.
$2,000.
Wow. Right.
Yeah, I think they get it every year. Yeah, exactly. And they essentially, it ranges every year depending on the oil price and whatever. But because it gives out to everyone, no governor has been able to change it. Right?
It won't be very popular.
They decrease it, they get voted out. So,
gotcha.
Because it's there's no discrimination. It's literally you're a resident of Alaska.
So he was doing universal basic income.
He put 6 months and you intend to live on it indefinitely or something like that. Yeah,
he put
universal basic income. Yeah,
he put Andrew Yang. Do you know about Andrew Yang?
No.
He was one of the people running in the current US election.
Right.
He pulled out after he looked at the stats, but he brought to the table universal basic income. He brought to the table because jobs are being displaced, is that right, by AI? Especially in the Rust Belt. They call it the Rust Belt. Like Detroit.
Yeah, it's just automation in general. Like it could be manufacturing robots, and that's pretty much what did it for the Rust Belts.
And so he had this whole plan. And I was thinking, yes, finally, there's somebody. And he pulled out. Probably because of something, like, I think it was, he had to, I think he was Democrat, wasn't he? He was Democrat, and they were like, they're not going to pick him.
Joe Rogan would have voted for him, because he had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, now that Joe Biden's running, I was like, well, I don't really think I have I would have voted for Andrew Yang, right? He would have been like...
Wow.
I was so
and he
hopeful.
might vote Trump now.
Yeah.